we usually at least twice a week work on a mingle activity, and it often comes from a topic that is in one of our starter activities, which is usually really a vocabulary, kind of a disguised vocabulary lesson. And what I usually do is I will give them some example questions, and then I'll have them make their own questions for the mingle. And I will direct them to ask, if they have 8 questions, they have to ask 8 people, or they have to ask each person, 4 questions and report back on 2 of those questions to wrap it up at the end of the session. And that's a really good way. At the beginning of the year, they're very resistant. Oh, teacher, what kind of questions can we ask? But now we're midway, and they are really fast at making their questions, and they come up with great things.
This reminded me of another one that's really fun to do in an ESL classroom, could be any class maybe, is for vacations. If it's ESL, we brainstorm all the questions about vacations. Where did you stay? Where did you go? How was the food, etc. And then I take 3 volunteer students outside, and I tell them, one of you is going to tell only lies. No, 2 of you are telling the truth, and one of you is only going to lie. So I find out something like, let's see, yeah. So then we decide who's going to tell the lie and who's going to be telling the truth, and then if someone went, let's say you went to Las Vegas, you'll tell the truth about it, and you're telling the lie. You won't tell any lies, and then you come back in, and then you have the class ask the questions, and the students have to figure out who's lying and who's telling the truth, and they have a lot of fun with that. And the other thing that I just thought of was for higher levels or for other classes, one of the best ways to end the class is just saying, instead of, do you have any questions, to say, what questions do you have?
One thing that I do is to bring pictures of famous people that I rip out of magazines, and each person has a famous person to look at. Nobody else sees it. The rest of the class, by asking questions, I said the only question you cannot ask is who is it or what is their name. Those are the 2 taboo questions. And then just guess. Are they? What type of movies were they in? Or if it's not movies, then are they in sports? It could be yes or no questions, and it could be information questions. And it triggers because there's a need for them to find out.
One thing that strikes me, at least when we're in the realm of ESL and talking about less proficient students, is that the types of questions we're encouraging them to ask are on Bloom's taxonomy, still kind of at that basic level, which is okay because that's really what they can handle, right? But then when we try to introduce at least like the adjectives for different feelings, how did it make you feel when such and such happens? Or sentence stems, I felt happy when and they describe something that, that happened to them. So you can still get to some of those higher levels, or ask them, who their favorite person is, or who's a hero to them and why. Like
and
she said about the
in examples, for example, like Sylvia's, where you have the picture, even if you showed them the picture, you could say, what questions would you like to ask of this person?
Yeah.
Another activity that's kind of fun is to give students answers. It's sort of a Jeopardy type thing. You give students answers and ask them, what are the questions? And they have to think about, this question must have been this, just so they begin to think about questioning being an important thing for them to ask. Or to have them pair off with somebody that they don't know very well and ask them to think about, what questions would you like to ask this person? You're meeting them for the first time. What would you like to know about them? And then they may use that language, or they may use another language, but it gets them to thinking about the importance of asking questions. Yes?
I like to do bingo in my citizenship class, and then I'm asking, it's all on the Congress or the President or the Supreme Court. But then as a follow-up activity, so they're, marking how many Supreme Court justices are they? They've all find 9 and put their little piece of paper on 9. Then when we filled the whole card, have them take off all the little markers and then work with the partner and say either say this information refers to, okay, so 9, that's the number of justices in the Supreme Court, or make a question that gives, so they're looking at the answers and now they have to either state the information in a complete sentence or make a question that goes with that.